Main's bulletin has finally dropped for global, and here is everything you need to know if you want to hit that triple S, or just to maximize your damage. Tip number 1, use Star Unit if possible. Star Unit will gain 20% more stats, which makes Star Unit much stronger than the rest of the cast. Absolutely avoid using Beast, because they're gonna be one-shot at later stages. Tip number 2, Genesis damage is broken here. The boss will take 75% more Genesis damage, which means 37 is the best in slot DPS here. There's also another really good DPS that does quite a bit of Genesis damage, and that's Voyager. You see, Voyager has this counter skill, which applies a counter that does 100% of her attack as Genesis damage. Even though it cannot crit, it's applied to the entire team. It also applies a sturdiness, which reduces damage taken by 25% and greatly increases the survivability of the team. What's even better is both of the effects stack, and you are free to spam the counter card to stack them up. Tip number 3, watch out for Frostbites. Whenever the boss uses his debuff skill, he will apply Frostbite to 2 targets. During the first 3 HP bars, it's only 2 stack, but once you go to the infinite HP bars, it's now 4 stacks. At 5 stacks, Frostbite will turn into freeze and stun the unit. The tentacle can also instantly freeze your unit when it casts its ultimate. Now, freeze itself is harmless, but due to the boss's passive, if you let the freeze expire itself, the unit will take between 30 to 60% of their max HP as Genesis damage based on which phase the boss is in. Preventing freezing is not that difficult. You can remove all the Frostbite on a unit simply by letting them act twice during a turn. In fact, acting twice during the turn also increases their attack by 30% for 2 turns. On a side note, Lydia's single target skill count as 2 actions if it triggered a follow-up, and each of Miss New Babel's counterattack also count as 1 action. If someone accidentally gets frozen, you can purify it using Tooth Fairy's ultimate or the buff skill of 6. Removing freeze using purify will not trigger the damage. Tip number 4, wait for 6. Yeah, I didn't realize how good I was having in CN with 6 on all the raids until I struggled for global. For those who are struggling right now on reaching higher scores, I highly recommend waiting for 6. 6 has everything. He will make your team tankier and reduce the damage enemy does. He will also reduce enemy's defense while boosting your incantation might. On top of that, like I previously mentioned, he has targeted purify that can help you mitigate the frostbite mechanic completely. Tip number 5, go for the tentacles. Special shout out to Anjis from my stream earlier who pointed this out, which I completely forgot after being carried by 6 for so long in CN. Honestly. Well, most time the stacking damage reduction and the stacking damage bonus is applied to all enemies in Main's bulletin. For this raid particularly, the tentacle does not benefit from the stacking damage reduction. Once you're in the 2nd or the 3rd infinite HP bar, you should start directing your non-Genesis damage toward the tentacles. Every time a tentacle dies, the boss will lose about 15,000 HP, and with your AoE splashing onto it during the fight, it will be relatively easy to finish them off with just a slight push from other damage sources. This is especially important at the end. You will need to deal around 40,000 damage on the final HP bar to reach triple S, at which point the boss will likely be only taking 30% damage from you, which is the minimum multiplier for damage bonus. Tips number 6, max out your carry. This is kind of obvious. For now, most people have their carry sitting around inside 3 level 30. This is the most efficient, as the next 30 level costs as much as all the previous level combined, while only providing about 5% damage boost. But that 5% matters to raid. So if you really want to get that triple S, consider maxing out your carry. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about this raid. This has been SteamBunX, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.